There is a library of strangers in Dublin, Krakow, Iqaluit, Constantinople, Petticoat Junction. A library I have borrowed 2 silences from. The Best Sleep of My Life and Light Moving in a Stan Brakhage film. Far away at home at last, I could not be reached, breached, or dissuaded. I slept forever and took forever to wake up, and when I did, there goes your mime teacher all in white. Light was archaeologizing a patchwork quilt on a bed, dusting each snag as if it were had no budget constraints. The approach of the children and the long-eared goat was a Latin declension enacted. There is a library of strangers in Dublin, the Troy Warrens of its archives boustrafidonic. Silence stoops to eyeball each shard and tag it. Light tests its white hands against walls in the air. Distracted indifference from the old goat and the children. That's a in memoriam for Stan Brakhage, the great filmmaker, experimental filmmaker and poet. And this is in memoriam for James Rainey. Some of you may have known him, or read him, or been influenced by him. I think everything here is explanatory, unless you don't know who the Nihilist Spasm Band was. They're a legendary noise band from London, Ontario. They made a lot of their own instruments. One of their famous members was Greg Curnow. They played every Thursday night at the York Hotel there. Have toured Japan, and this is one of their instruments. Little Olson, that drunken blowhard, really laid it down solid a time or two. Kingfishers and satyr bikers flung from a prolonged, sloppy timber. Meanwhile, our local giant, his marionettes enacting the Orange Wars, his happy chicken harnessed to a carriage, and all 3 rings of his barn circus spinning their windfall spokes. Unbeknownst, in of all places, London, Ontario, where Whitman came to discuss cosmic consciousness with Richard Maurice Book, MD, where Greg Curnow wrote his paintings on glass around town, where journaling Roy MacDonald abides. Olson and Whitman, the push and the yop, amount to not much around here. But when that big red heart of ours let go for the open highlands, our school bell townships amalgamated, went digital, the killdeer eggs lost a protector, and the Nihilist Spasm Band pulverized God Save the Queen. I've been reading this poem and wanting to do that for a month. Since I'm reading elegies, 4 little wee ones. It is not you. It is the door and then the phone. I open myself to cradle phonemes now that you are these things. You found my key, the melody wound. Now open me, suck my grief. Plug in some amp from fairyland. Dampen my hand. You blew too few. Before you died, you tie-dyed, livid, a flux nova, absurd, worn now, but still vehement, splattered, twisting, an unrepentant old trot, as if louder held sway. And finally, my real feet in my knees, I bow, I kneel to go with you. My poems have changed. Here's how. I tried to be that funny friend who always has something interesting to say, but it makes a lot of sense, but is also a bit of a wingnut. My poems had my friends in them so they'd recognize themselves, where we were, what we did. Oh, I'd take them somewhere else too. Not far enough to scare them, just outside the firelight, into the long grass, then back. But now, I only have 26 friends I give a damn about in a poem. I am Godard's Weekend, which I haven't seen, but I've heard is full of ruthless accidents among friends. This tort costume doesn't come off. I am the N of a broken H. I am half a friend, an end. This is called Filigree. Split maple, a redbird match, a light's in. Guff, gup, hum, flummery. This roar, or, r's, inner platelets and folios shades. These creature cells the Ojibwa disport throb wild. Ash scroll white in patches, safety pattern is. My innards not slime on vellum, but a ritual textured glow. Shaggy mane and raven, the log breaks, the stove ticks, not to understand, but return elsewhere. So stupid and still am. Couldn't hear speed or silence. Thought silence, a sculpture in a park. Speed, all dong and seance. Let a sculpture be a fallen totem, theater train, bear's heads fluttering under the waves of an inlet. Off kilter, let song and dance usher in alert calm. On one leg I try to bow, but my goat mask falls off. As I trip over it, my prayer comes out, duh. To read and wait, open and hum. My great story, migratory. One of the ways my writing has changed is that I used to be much more enamored of Neruda than I used to be, than I am now, I mean. Like Neruda, I'm a collector of things. I used to tell people what I was collecting. You know, now I'm collecting errata slips, if you find any. They're going to be redundant, so I'd like to have some more of them. Neruda was like that too. He was such an avid collector that you'd have him to dinner and things would be missing off your mantelpiece. And then you'd spend years trying to get them back. So this is an old poem about me and Neruda, I guess. When I look into Neruda's hunger for collector's items, I see a splashed reflection of my own magpiety. Not Voltaire's inkwell, or the only authentic sphinx bone I starve for, but folk oddments, my tribe's fetishes, half a doorknob, a bird's beak, a Via Rail coat button, a carved wooden acorn, the vertebrae of a Cretan fish, a token good for one loaf of bread from L. Catlin Bakery in Revelstoke, BC, 1936, a money clip concealing a jackknife and a file. This tribe of root word escorts, Sancho Panzas, alchemists, banjo assemblers, if the creek don't risers, neverthelessers. Neruda is now wave flux, he wrote of returning as his spirited verities uncovied. I finger my talus shards in defiance of an indifferent sediment echo Sotheby's can't hear. Neruda could hear only in his poems. And I hear snap in my back, click in my jaw, squelch in my stomach, pop in my ears. My very cellularity sounds like surf. I lie awake at night and listen to it going out. I get up and stoop to holding a shell again, or to reading certain poems again, alone but for Neruda and company, empty-handed if it weren't for gimcracks. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. This poem in the new book here is called An Apprenticeship Ends. Neruda's or my green glass demon trinkets balanced on clear planks in porthole windows. Their floss seeds curated vanishing acts. Our Bristol blue depression wear Kraken toys, nodding off on watch in ivy windows facing the sea. I hug his giant promotional shoe. It's a corset coffin, a larynx wheelchair. His Peral Tanner's dummy horse is the buffalo my mother rode as it swam that I made up, sue me. We are afraid of the sea, for one. It is inimitably unclear and doesn't give a, though we lust after its Shakespearean rent-asunder disguises anyway. And anything, including us, can be the sea, wearing our little captain suits, waving, drinking, thinking, sinking as one. This is work, real, vital, of mass, of struggle. Nope, malarkey. Enough. Here goes. An open, blind, private dive into lilting shanty jaws. Murk. Well, in case you're just riding on the crests of these, when he was out of work, Dad made lumberjack stew. Thick gray suety muck. The dumplings bogged on top were little clouds the dog had puked up. What Mum grew, what Dad killed, in one pot. Until he got a call, that was all we had. Thank God for peanut butter and construction. You see what I've got here? Fork. It's a very old fork. It's a folding fork. Folds up on itself like a jackknife. It's got a bone handle and it's inscribed to the person who had it and from somebody. It's got a little notch so that the blade that fits in like that. Very nice. It's the kind of thing that if you get one of these, you're set for life. Right? Well, I've got a poem about it. I don't bring my folding fork on reading tours anymore. I can't take it on planes. It might be confiscated as a dangerous weapon. It is dangerous because it solves, for good, a need. At home, I often touch the initial scrimshot into its bone handle. I hold a gift some man ate with for months at sea in the 1800s, and never think to use it myself for what it was made for. It has become a metaphor of the kind of poem that turns on itself to make emptiness sing, the inwardness and ruthlessness of a line. I really am the kind of person who bites the loose skin between his thumb and his index finger when he's worried he might have sounded like a doofus. Airports began as heaven's basements. They have evolved into prison malls. Scan, no past gets past unless cartoon, and unique is unique. But hand to mouth, our first crude way of feeding each other, what Bakhtin calls our collective medieval folk body, we hordes, waltz right through, past the terror in security's glittering eyes. Some of you may know the poet Jan Kahn. She's mentioned in here. Some of you may know of or did know the poet Robert Billings. He's mentioned in here too. So this takes place about 1985, I guess. The insects in Brazil were sitting pretty. I was getting married the next day. Jan had been hanging with Billings, but no one had seen him for a few days. We were on the patio at Yum Yums or Yo-Yo's, talking about her graduate work on bug screens, a special thread and weave, her own design, an alternative to pesticides. Her tongue could butter lust with regret, while adding just a by-twist of indifference. We were all such studious reprobates that summer as we began the evasive processes of settling in without letting ourselves be brought down. Screwing in flight as we chose our grades, a PhD, marriage, the Niagara River. For years I thought, at least I'm not Billings, who had seemed too ambitious to read for fun, too formal to ever surprise paper with a sandwich. As poets back then, we all stank of childhood, kept forgetting our lines and freezing into frescoes, then blurting any obscenity to shock the plot along. These days, wouldn't hurt a fly is my persona. This is called The Brunt. Swim alone, panic, drown. Tongue creature in mouth cave grunting, the beast with 2 paperbacks. North, south, east, west, birth, prison, hospital, death. Of being mediocre, arrogant, cowardly, small-spirited, provincial, of becoming the bathwater, to dry up, a no, a hole. Haven't written, never will, can't read, write, a gurgle. Sex to heal the sacred where the altar was desecrated. Each person a cave the other finds and hides in. confines and confides in, no light, beast wallow. Till the O's are barned hungry full, till the E's quilts lift shook raucous, till the beak and the stubble droplet, till the chevrons labor in the underclaw, till the lowing of the swung bells depth charge sleep. Address corrupted, reception muted, to draw the eye across the O. Now that TV has numbed the abscess of the folktale, this hesitant beseech as powers caution us against unison for health or religious reasons. Sex, one of the last wild parklands. Pornography logs it, illness pollutes it, romance lies about it, marriage vacations there, a self-sufficient, antisocial joy torsion, eyes stretching each other to O's, poetry hitching into the mud-night sin, water in a skeleton costume, dancing, to swim like a frog with a stone in its mouth. Dear reader, dear treader, a woman takes off her bombshell and puts on her chicken. Takes off her chicken and puts on her bombshell, non-stop. As a man swaggers sags, to unveil his mother as an old man, in suspenders and mustachios, in a Booth Tarkington farce, at a local theater when he was a boy, and didn't recognize his own mother, then did halfway through and had to be taken out screaming. Or are we talking to women here? Or are we talking to men? Either way, silent, a baby grand, in a shut-down woolen mill, high-strung above a waterfall at midnight, a waterfall, an infidel in a crinoline. This is a poem Porn that Rod referred to. My just-washed old hair, loosening and lightening in the wind, I walk down our deadfall path to Audie Lake, my buckskin coat the only sun. Two partridges, wary, stepping beak regal, pump rough and fluster up, thrown books fanning off into underbrush. The rain has ruined the purple mushrooms. Their black gill feathers are now a sticky guck. I am so gratefully dumb about small lot management. Our parents and the kids' pets buried or scattered here along this lichened edge of shield from Georgian Bay to the Ottawa River. I need socks, oat cakes, a haircut, bug spray, but my mind is on some young woman who glances back over her shoulder past her bare and open ass with a look of fear and resignation that should shame me but excites me. As a boy, I was opened and hurt, so I've always understood, if not shared, a flinch of her degradation. But part of me is also abuser, wants to something, so I don't have to be her. Instead, I pray conscience, immune system, Earth's atmosphere, topsoil, the periodic table, bless us. She could be my daughter, 18 next month, the creature I love more than... I am 53, my gray-wing head bowed to mulch and kindling. When I walk back up the path to our log cabins, a doe is at the salt lick, tick-bitten, scratch tame. We will watch each other until Guck turns regal. Having left the city, my children grown, that maelstrom theirs, that mosh pit. My maelstrom, the coiled, barbed, gummed tongue of the Polyphemus moth, butting its blue fur head on the glass when I'm up late tungstening, reading Joseph Wood Crutch on deserts, or telling the moth where to get off my children. My reason for even trying once, leaping dazed at the core of the big smoke. My drunkalogs metamorphosed are talking fish who warn that stillness is not cowardice, nor prayer, nor hope, just some other song and dance. As I sit on the stone, I throw it myself into the lake, and yes, bites me. As I light the fire, I hear the train. Who, if not you, gone long? And rain, yet written, yet writ. To rename myself, the way the Han Shan poet did. He became Cold Mountain. I'll be Audie Lake. Audie Murphy, Linda Lake. Early hero, old girlfriend. Last I saw her, I saw clear through her. Really. A restless soul. The shallows stink, and the depths choke with weeds, but the sun on the surface patient its light. Before us and after us, delight. 2 syllables, delight. Okay, try it now yourself. Who equals where? Nearly. I'll stop writing when my 2 herons cross the marsh at dusk. The paddle boat is a thirsty dog. These are letters, as in, go ahead, spit it out. The bob is back, canopy, can of peas, please salon plie. Silent, dark, unfolded rulers gliding crude, their shadows lapping lily pads. I accept my failures, but I do not accept my death. An acetylene pain while tinkering. A stab that eats the stab of focus like lime eats fishiness. A line widening to wall, wave, night, prow, row, ow, oh, my vast holdings, lint on a nib. Thank you.